Vice News has an incredible story about Syria that really puts into perspective an aspect of the conflict that's largely ignored. So they say Syria's civil war has left 250,000 people dead, according to the latest UN count, and millions more are either displaced within the country's borders or have sought refuge abroad. And while the proximate causes were largely political and religious, primarily grievances with President Bashar al Assad, new scientific research adds support to the argument that climate change helped to trigger Syria's descent into violence. Okay, let me pause here. Cue all the right-wingers laughing, mocking it, saying that's the stupidest thing they've ever heard, just embracing their deep, profound ignorance with a bear hug. Yes, I don't learn. Yes, let's mock the liberals who are right. What? So, for those of you who are still with me and you aren't right-wing twats, listen to this. Quote, researchers from NASA, and the University of Arizona studied tree rings, a reliable proxy for measuring precipitation going back several centuries, and found that the recent Syrian drought was likely the worst in at least the past 900 years, and almost definitely the worst in 500 years. The drought caused 75% of Syria's farms to fail and 85% of livestock to die between 2006 and 2011, according to the United Nations. Wow. So, understand that. You have 75% of the farms failing, 85% of the livestock dying. You think that's going to lead to some political instability? So what happens is the farms fail. Now the farmer's like, what the fuck are we going to do for a living? They go to the city. They're too crowded. There's no jobs available. Everybody's getting collectively more poor and more poor. The government's not doing enough to fix the situation or help the situation. The Arab Spring is happening everywhere else around them with, yes, political and religious grievances as well. And they go, fuck this. Let's take to the streets. So to say that climate change caused all of the Syrian civil war, that's nonsense, okay? To say it wasn't a big part of it is not true. It was a big part of it. If those farms didn't fail, 75% of the farms failed. If those farms didn't fail, if 85% of the livestock didn't die, you don't create tremendous political instability. You don't have those people come into the cities where there are no jobs available. You don't have that anger and that resentment grow, and chances are there would have been a way to resolve the solution in other ways. Now, we can't say that for sure, but we can say that this was a gigantic factor in leading to the way it unfolded and how it is today. Now, again, you could be a right-winger and be a fact denier and ignore that, but you are a fact denier. Look, I'll freely admit that at face value, that sounds silly. Like, oh, really? Climate change caused a Syrian civil war? Like, that's childish, and that's left-wingers pointing out their pet issues and blaming it on their pet issues. I grant you that at face value, it sounds silly. But when you go to the data and the facts, you go, oh, okay, I see the way it worked, and you can trace the line, and you see exactly how it unfolded. Again, I'm not saying it's the only cause, but it's certainly a cause, and not one to be scoffed at, and it's just true.